again with the notorious Excel. With Excel, you can't do something like this.
Everyone's really been like, wow, this is really something that could make life so much easier, especially in terms of presenting to clients.
Hey, welcome to the Sheet Live, the show about the Sheet, the best spec sheet software out there for interior designers. I'm Oliver.
Hey, I'm Ron.
And today we're going to be looking at two things on our eternal quest to boot out Excel as the software of choice for interior designers. We keep saying that Excel is great to get started, but once you grow even a little bit, it just lacks the leverage a specialized software could have. Or in theory, you could make most of it work in Excel, but then you'd be spending your entire life managing that Excel spreadsheet. So today we'll be looking at multi-space products, something that we think is really, really convenient in almost every project. And another thing we think is very cool, that's called Plan View. So Ron, let's kick it off with multi-space products.
Yep. As Oliver mentioned, I think this is like a really good example of a feature that just can't be replicated in Excel or any other spreadsheet software, because it truly needs like something specialized, and it's something we put a lot of thought into with the multi-space products, because every project has these things. Either it's a wall color, either it's floor specialization, anything like that will most likely be featured within separate spaces within the same project. And that's why we wanted to tackle it. So as I open this project, I will actually right away go in and sort out something very specific, which is exactly wall colors. And this is a great way for me to explain exactly how this feature works. So here we are. As you can see, I have my walls and ceilings, my wall colors right here for this project, and you can already see how they look within the sheet view. So you can already see this specific color is in 3 different spaces. This one is in 2 different spaces, and this one is only in 1 space. So the beauty of it is that once I hover these, I can actually see which spaces are involved, and also the unit, as well as the statuses. So it will give you like a very, very quick overview of what's happening with that specific product. If I open it up, you will see even more specialized sort of differentiation within the different spaces. So every space now has its specific quantity, it has its own status, and I can always add more spaces, and I can always set the status for all of them together. So if a client says this color is great, I can just go ahead and approve them for all spaces at the same time. Or if I need to, as mentioned, I can have different statuses for the different ones. Now, the other thing that really works well with this is that the comments and notes are still in the same space. So, for example, in this case, I will already get a notification that, for example, we need more of this paint, without going through like the different products within the sheet.
And something else we talked about last time, but you can see here as well, we have internal notes, which is also a very cool feature we have. So Ron's dad there asked for another can of paint, and Ron then can write a note for himself with something that he would need to remember. But yeah, sorry, Ron, go ahead.
Yeah. No, what I wanted to say is why have this feature in the first place? So the current issue, uh, whichever software you're working in, but especially if we look at Excel or even the sheet previously, meant that you had to duplicate the same product multiple times. What happens then is, what if a price changes? What if, the supplier changes, for example? That means you have to go through all of your spec sheets, go through every single one of them, and make sure it's all correct. So it was, let's say, a great way for making mistakes. And I think that's something every interior designer um, has had in their career. There's just so much to look out for when you start making those small changes. So in this case, because this product is the same within all three spaces, it means whatever change I do, if I now put in the price, which I hadn't put in previously, it means that it's now updated for all of them. If I change anything else here, it will be updated for all of them. And that's the true sort of beauty of this feature, is no more sort of small mistakes or spending hours going through spec sheets, making sure everything is up to date.
Yeah, and I have a bit of a kind of a personal backstory with this as well. We started developing this because of a project I was doing myself, and there were few layers of pain in the butt that I had to go through. The very obvious one is had the same floors in about 5 6 rooms, and the same paint and the same ceiling paint and so on, and so you just spend days copying and pasting and duplicating rows, and you think, okay, there has to be a simpler way. So this is how we came to this idea. But another perhaps not as obvious benefit, but something that's further down the line, once everything's approved and you start the build out, is how many of each how many units of each product do I have distributed across the project. You had to go and manually read, or, and it doesn't have to be paint cans. It can be, sometimes you might have the same chair in multiple spaces, right, in multiple rooms. And then you would have to go through and make sure, okay, I have 5 chairs in this room, I have another 2 in here. And if you want to then export an order, send an order to a vendor, there were multiple line items for the same product. Now with multi-space products, it's just one line. It calculates everything together. So once it's time to put in that order, that's all done for you. You don't have to manually scroll through your project to make sure you're not forgetting everything. It's just one line item, one product that's distributed across different rooms.
Yeah, no, exactly. So it just really, really sort of makes the process so much, easier, or let's say bulletproof, because just, yeah, making mistakes is really much more unlikely with this case.
Yes, and I think it also makes things easier to follow for the client as well. As interior designers or as professionals, we keep a lot of the project. I say we interior designers keep a lot of the project in in their heads, conceptually speaking, whereas clients, as they don't deal with this every day, it's a little bit harder to follow a project. And I think this could be a good segue to the other thing we wanted to talk about today, which is a bit more visual, a bit more cool, I think, and, and makes the clients' lives a lot easier. Um, and that's plan view. Ron, you want to show us what
Yeah,
plan view is?
yeah. Plan view is actually something we've really had in mind for a very long time. And I think it's one of those things where when we've had interviews with interior designers and we've mentioned to them or maybe shown like an early prototype of what we had in mind, everyone's really been like, wow, this is really something that could make life so much easier, especially in terms of presenting to clients, because using position codes and looking at a floor plan is one thing, and it takes a little bit of knowledge to know what you're looking for exactly, and it's often maybe a little bit distracting to look at a spec sheet on one hand and then try to follow everything up with your finger on the plan. So we decided to put those two together. And the key here, as I mentioned, is really getting clients to understand the project right away without them having to look at position codes, without them even having to look at spaces per se. So that's why plan view we really feel is something that's going to help interior designers get those approvals quicker, minimize the time that it takes to explain something, to go over something, because it sort of can't be more obvious when you actually look at a plan of an apartment, for example, and everything is already in place. So in this case, I can easily take a look at the table. We made it so that this card view that you have within the plans is also something where you can already go through all the images, because for me, when I think about this feature, I think in a lot of cases um, for example, smaller apartments as projects, a client won't really have to look at the spec sheet anymore at all, because they can go through everything right here. So I can also show you, for example, the living room light, because this is something that's still undecided. It's still in the proposed status, and it has multiple options. So a client can easily go through the different photos, understand the product exactly, and still look through all the other alternative examples as well, meaning they literally never have to look at the full spec sheet anymore. They can just go through everything in here and say, I love this version, let's approve it.
Yeah, and I think this is why we call it plan view, and we don't think about it as a kind of a separate thing, is because it reuses all of the information that you already have in your project. You've done the work once, you've put your project together in the spec sheet. We had the card view previously where it was just a lot more visual, but still the same information. Um, and now this is just a even more visual or interactive view to to look at that same information. Again, with the notorious Excel, with Excel, you can't do something like this. You would have to re-enter everything. You'd have to manually put together an image and so on. Um, we just make it a lot easier to relay or to reuse the work that you've already done in a way that clients can really understand the project and what they will be getting.
Yeah, exactly. And additionally to what's already in the spec, so all of the products themselves, which you can then also see on this right-hand side, and it's also another way to actually navigate it for both you and the client, because if you click on a product, it automatically zooms into that specific thing with all of the details available as well. But additionally, we've also added a way to add notes here. So, this goes for anything that might need additional explanations. So, for example, in this case, I've left a note for the contractor that will leave the current cabinet in the hallway, but we will replace the panels with mirrors for a more modern look. Or we can even add images together with the notes. So, for example, in this case, I've added an image of a render of the space, saying that the island will become the headboard for the bed, because it might not be instantly obvious. But yeah, you can add images that the client can then also look in large format, which just makes it again easier for you to explain whatever you might need to explain within the project. And additionally, actually, this is a good point. Showing renders is also part of it, because while we think about this feature, and we've named it Plan View because we see this as sort of the main objective of this, is showing where products go within a certain floor plan. There is nothing stopping you from also adding renders, for example, because you can add any images or image files to this feature as you want. So in this case, I've also, for example, added a 3D render of the space, and this gives me an easy way to show the client that, for example, this will be the ceiling color. This will be the lamp that will be eventually hanging in the space. This will be the wall color, and go really into detail with all the products that are in the image, which also in many cases, I think, especially with smaller things like accessories that are maybe more difficult to mark exactly on the plan, this is a great way to do exactly that.
Yes, and you can, what's really cool about it is you can upload as many plans or as many images as backgrounds as your project needs or warrants. And also new products are really easy to add as well. It's a simple click and select, and then uh, you can publish it for a client, get the links, share them the link as with everything else,
Yeah.
with the sheet, and it's as easy as that. You send them that one link, and they have access. They have immediate access to the spec sheet or the plan view or any documents you've uploaded and so on.
And that's actually something we've also added with this update, is the ability to actually choose which views go to the client, because especially we feel like with this new plan view, there's a good way of potentially not even sending the spec, or maybe you only want to send the plan view to the contractor because they only need to see like where everything goes, or something like that. So in this case, for example, I've removed grid view from the client. So if we actually look at the client view now, you can see that from these different views, they only have the card view and the plan view available. And as I mentioned already, the whole idea here is that the client can do anything from this view. So if they do click on a product, they can also approve and reject directly within the plan view. So it really makes the job a lot easier for them. And another, actually, like a very small feature that I love is, as the client goes through the spec, as soon as they make a decision on something, it automatically goes onto the next product that they would have to make a decision on. So it really, again, makes it more easy for them to go through everything and make sure they don't miss anything.
And if they want to, they can jump in from here to the detail view where they can still add comments and so on. So all of this is within a few easy taps, keeping all of your communication in one centralized location, and also very simple for the clients to get access to everything as well. They know exactly where they have to go. They have a single link. They also get notifications if you've added their email address and so on. So just bringing it all together and making it as easy as possible for everybody involved.
Exactly.
Right. And I think that's about it today. Ron, do we have anything to add or more to come next time?
Yeah, more to come. I think these updates are really another sort of big step in terms of making life so much easier for both the interior designers as well as their clients. So I'm really excited to see how people will start using, especially the plan view, because even on my own home project, it's been extremely helpful and just made life so much easier.
Yes. All right. Thanks, Ron.
Thank you, Oliver.
Till next time. Bye bye.
Bye.